someone very special in my life. Normally when you think of tribute speeches, you think of talking about someone who has passed away. But for me, one of the most important and influential people in my life is still alive, and I'm very thankful for that. My grandfather is 97 years old, and he's still very independent. He lives in his own home with his wife, who is about 12 years younger than him, and they're blessed to have a huge family to help out. My grandpa was born in 1914, and he saw the start of the automobile. He'd always tell us stories when we were growing up about how the cars were back then and how things are now, and he sees some things in his life now that he never imagined seeing. I remember him telling me one day when I was little, we were sitting outside, and it was dark out. He looks up at the moon and says that when he was a boy, he always said that someday somebody would be up on the moon. Little did he know all of the things that he would see in his lifetime, including man being on the moon. He always knew that would happen, but he never predicted some of the crazy changes that the world would take in his 97 years. Although you can expect that things would change drastically, he still prefers simpler things. He can't figure out his Comcast cable remote, and he prefers to sit and read a book over watching TV. My grandpa lived in Iowa. He was born and raised there. He went off to war, and when he came back, he'd always dreamed of going to Oregon. He thought it was a land of promise. So when he got back from war, he took his young wife and just the clothes on their back and a small suitcase, and they traveled across the country from Iowa to Oregon. It was his dream to come to Oregon, and he wanted to raise his family here. They got here and set up roots, and they settled down in a house. They had 4 children, all ranging in age. Their oldest one would have been about 20 years older than the youngest, and the youngest is my mom. My mom always worried about my grandpa not meeting her kids, because he was always pretty old, even when she was pretty young, and she was afraid she wouldn't have kids in time for him to meet them. Little did she know he would still be alive, and I'm 24 years old, almost able to have my own kids. I'm really blessed to have my grandpa in my life. He is a huge positive influence on me, and he's the most loving person that I have ever met. He's always encouraging, always positive, and he's one of the most hardworking people I've ever met in my life. He worked as a mechanic for most of his life, and he was a painter just for fun. He was an amazing painter until the arthritis got the best of his hands and he wasn't really able to paint anymore. And that was a huge, huge heartbreak for him. He didn't think that he would live long enough to have all these problems, but he's very thankful that he's close to 100 and he would like to make it that far. My grandpa is one of the best people in my life. He's always encouraging. He tells me every time I see him that I've never made a dumb choice in my life. Although he must not know everything I've done. He might gasp at some of the things in my childhood, but he knows that I am a good person, and he really loves all of his family. He has a huge family, and he's so blessed. He has the best lap to sit on. And in conclusion, I would like to say that my grandpa is one of the most influential people from my life, and I am so blessed and honored to know him and be able to pay tribute to him. And I hope that someday I'm half the person that he was and still is. Thank you.